Welcome to our channel. Today, we uncover the mysterious tale of 7 ancient creatures banished before Adam, beings forgotten by time and ignored by the church. Were they real? Why were they erased from history? Hidden in sacred texts, ancient lore, and forbidden scrolls lies a truth few dare to explore. Join us as we reveal the secrets buried deep beneath Genesis, a world before mankind, ruled by entities the church doesn't talk about. Prepare to challenge everything you thought you knew about creation. This is the hidden truth the church forgot, and it's more shocking than you imagined. Let's dive in. The biblical story of creation in Genesis tells us that Adam was the first human being formed by God. However, ancient texts, myths, and forbidden scriptures hint at a deeper, more mysterious past, one that predates Adam and even humanity itself. What if the Garden of Eden wasn't the true beginning? What if there were other beings, creatures of immense power and mystery, who roamed creation before the dawn of man? This is the hidden history few dare to explore. In this article, we examine 7 creatures or entities that were said to exist before Adam, ultimately banished or forgotten. These are beings whose stories have been whispered through apocryphal texts, Gnostic traditions, Mesopotamian myths, and Jewish mysticism. Whether you see them as allegory, theology, or hidden truth, these figures offer a chilling look into a reality erased from mainstream doctrine. 1. Lilith, the first woman, not Eve. Lilith is perhaps the most famous figure, said to predate or parallel Eve in creation. In some Jewish mystical traditions, Lilith was created alongside Adam from the same earth, not from his rib. According to the Alphabet of Ben Sira, a medieval text, Lilith refused to submit to Adam and fled Eden, claiming her own independence and power. She was later demonized as a night demon, said to prey on newborns and seduce men in their sleep. In Kabbalistic lore, she became the bride of Samael, a dark archangel, and ruled over the demonic realm. Why was she banished? Lilith's defiance represented a spiritual rebellion against divine order. Her refusal to be subservient undermined the hierarchy intended for creation, leading to her exile and demonization by later theology. 2. The Watchers, the fallen angels of Genesis 6. In the book of Enoch, which is considered apocryphal by most Christian traditions, but canonical in Ethiopian Christianity, a group of 200 angels, called the Watchers, descended to earth. Their mission was to observe humanity, but instead, they took human women as wives and birthed the Nephilim, giant hybrids. These angels taught humans forbidden knowledge, such as weapon-making, astrology, and enchantments. This corruption of creation led to their fall and binding in the depths of the earth, awaiting judgment. Why were they banished? The Watchers violated divine law by interfering with human development and mingling their seed with mortal women. Their sin was so grave that it contributed to the decision to flood the earth in Noah's time. 3. Tiamat, the chaos dragon of Babylon. In Mesopotamian mythology, particularly the Enuma Elish, Tiamat was the primordial goddess of the ocean, representing chaos and darkness. She gave birth to the first gods, but when those gods rose against her consort Apsu, she created monstrous offspring to destroy them. Eventually, the storm god Marduk defeated Tiamat, splitting her body to form the heavens and the earth. This tale mirrors creation from chaos, themes present in many cultures. Why was she banished? Tiamat symbolizes the ancient, chaotic void before structure creation. In Babylonian belief, she wasn't just defeated. She was dismantled to make the ordered world, her very being becoming part of the cosmos. Yet she remains a lingering symbol of pre-Adamic rebellion. 4. Azazel, the scapegoat and forbidden teacher. Mentioned in Leviticus and elaborated upon in the book of Enoch, Azazel is a mysterious figure often associated with sin, corruption, and wilderness. He is one of the Watchers, but stands out as a singular corrupter who taught humans how to make weapons and paint their faces cosmetics, promoting vanity and violence. During the Jewish Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, a ritual involved sending a goat into the wilderness for Azazel, symbolically carrying the sins of the people. Why was he banished? Azazel's role as a corrupter of humanity earned him a unique punishment, being bound in the desert in utter darkness until judgment. His influence was seen as so toxic that he became the personification of exile and impurity. 5. Leviathan, the primordial sea serpent. Leviathan appears in several places in the Old Testament, notably in Job and Psalms, as a monstrous sea creature created by God. In ancient Jewish mysticism, Leviathan is said to be one of two sea monsters, along with Behemoth, created in the chaos before Earth's formation. According to some Midrashic interpretations, God killed the female Leviathan to prevent them from reproducing and overwhelming creation. The surviving male Leviathan is said to be kept alive until the end of time, when he will be slain and served at the Messianic banquet. Why was it banished? Leviathan represents untamable chaos. Though created by God, its immense power and wildness had to be restrained. Its banishment to the depths is symbolic of divine control over pre-cosmic chaos and malevolent potential. 6. Pre-Adamic races, the shadow beings of lost time. Various esoteric teachings, including Gnostic texts, Islamic traditions, and even early Christian mysticism, hint at entire races of beings created before Adam. In Islamic lore, there's a belief in jinn, beings of smokeless fire who lived on earth before humanity. Some traditions say they built civilizations, had wars, and were ultimately cast out or hidden away when Adam was created. In Gnostic texts, the idea of multiple creations of man appears, with spiritual beings, often called archons, creating flawed versions of humanity before the true Adam was formed by the supreme God. Why were they banished? These beings represent earlier failed or incomplete versions of creation. Their banishment marked the beginning of a new divine order centered around humanity, with these pre-Adamic entities pushed to the fringes of reality, often feared or dismissed as demons. 7. Samael, the poison of God. Samael is a complex figure in Jewish mysticism, often referred to as the angel of death, and sometimes conflated with Satan. Unlike Lucifer, Samael is not always portrayed as entirely evil. He executes God's judgment and brings death, but also tempts humanity and brings chaos. In some Kabbalistic traditions, Samael is seen as the consort of Lilith, ruling over realms of impurity and spiritual death. His role in pre-Adamic stories is as the counterforce to divine order, a necessary evil that existed in the spiritual hierarchy before humans were formed. Why was he banished? Samael was not so much banished as he was bound to a specific cosmic role. His presence is essential yet destructive. In some stories, his influence was pulled back as humanity was created, suggesting a divine attempt to shield Adam from the darkness that came before. A hidden world erased by time. The mainstream church has historically avoided or outright condemned texts and ideas that contradict the Genesis narrative. Figures like Lilith, Azazel, and the Watchers are either reinterpreted or excluded from canon entirely. However, these stories persisted in mystical writings, ancient mythologies, and oral traditions, forming a shadow history of cosmic rebellion, divine conflict, and spiritual war. Why were these creatures hidden? Some suggest it was to preserve the simplicity of the creation story. Others believe that early religious leaders feared the implications, that God's creation was not an instantaneous perfection, but a process that involved error, rebellion, and correction. Symbolic or literal? Whether these beings are literal creatures, mythological archetypes, or symbolic representations of cosmic principles, they offer insight into the deeper fears and questions of early civilizations. What came before us? Why is the world flawed if created by a perfect God? Are we truly the first intelligent beings on Earth? These ancient stories remind us that creation is far more complex than the surface-level narratives often taught. They invite us to ask hard questions, explore hidden texts, and embrace the idea that spiritual truth may be layered, veiled in mystery, waiting to be revealed. The seven creatures banished before Adam, Lilith, the Watchers, Tiamat, Azazel, Leviathan, the pre-Adamic races, and Samel, represent more than forgotten characters. They are echoes of a lost past, guardians of forbidden knowledge, and symbols of a cosmic order that predates humanity. In uncovering their stories, we don't just explore ancient myths, we confront the very foundations of faith, identity, and origin. As we peer into the shadows before Eden, we discover that the garden was not the beginning, but a restart, one carefully crafted after a cosmic drama that most have never been allowed to see. Lilith, the first woman, not Eve, the hidden truth of a forgotten feminine power. When we hear the name Eve, we instantly recognize her as the first woman, the one created from Adam's rib in the Garden of Eden. But what if she wasn't the first? What if another woman, equal in creation to Adam, came before her, only to be erased from sacred history because she refused to be subservient? Her name is Lilith, a figure cloaked in mystery, myth, and controversy. Feared as a demon by some, hailed as a symbol of feminine power and independence by others, Lilith's story has been fragmented across cultures and epochs. Yet it persists, echoing through the corridors of suppressed theology and ancient lore. In this deep exploration, we uncover the origins, evolution, and hidden meanings behind Lilith, the first woman, not Eve. 1. Origins in Jewish mysticism. Lilith's earliest clear mention appears not in the Torah, but in Jewish mystical and folklore traditions, particularly in the alphabet of Ben Sira, a medieval text dated around the 8th to 10th century CE. According to this account, Lilith was created at the same time and from the same earth as Adam, unlike Eve, who was formed later from Adam's rib. This creation story implies equality between Adam and Lilith. But conflict arose when Adam demanded Lilith lie beneath him during sex, asserting dominance. Lilith refused, claiming her equality as a being made from the same soil. Frustrated, she uttered the secret name of God and fled Eden, escaping to the Red Sea. There, she mated with demons, birthed countless children, and refused to return despite the intervention of angels. 2. Lilith in ancient Mesopotamia. Though her character was solidified in Jewish folklore, Lilith may trace her roots back to Sumerian and Akkadian mythology. In ancient Mesopotamian texts, we find mentions of Lilu and Lilitu, wind spirits or demons that haunted the night. Lilitu was described as a female demon associated with storms, seduction, and infertility. Lamashtu, another related figure, was feared for harming pregnant women and infants, similar to later Jewish demonization of Lilith. These Mesopotamian influences seem to have bled into early Jewish demonology, creating the foundation for Lilith's dark transformation from rebellious woman to demoness of the night. 3. Lilith in the Bible. Hints and silences. Lilith is notably absent from the canonical Genesis narrative, yet some scholars argue there are subtle references to her existence. In Genesis 1 verse 27, it says, "So God created man in his own image, male and female he created them." This suggests both sexes were created simultaneously, hinting at the Lilith tradition. In contrast, Genesis 2 details Eve's creation from Adam's rib, a second, different version. The only direct mention of Lilith in the Bible appears in Isaiah 34 verse 14, a prophecy about desolation. The wild beasts of the desert shall also meet with the wild beasts of the island, and the satyr shall cry to his fellow. The screech owl Lilith also shall rest there. The Hebrew word Lilith here is often translated as night creature or screech owl, though some see it as a nod to the demonic Lilith. This linguistic ambiguity, combined with fragmented mythologies, allowed Lilith to exist in the shadow of orthodoxy, present but hidden. For the alphabet of Ben Sira, the rebellious first wife. The alphabet of Ben Sira gives us the most detailed medieval account of Lilith. Here, her refusal to submit to Adam isn't just physical, it's spiritual and cosmic. She refuses a hierarchy that places man above woman. When she flees, God sends 3 angels, Sinoi, Sansonoi, and Samangeloth, to bring her back. They find her near the Red Sea, where she's birthing demonic offspring. She refuses to return, declaring, "I was created equal. I will not lie beneath him." In response, the angels curse her, threatening to kill 100 of her children daily. This narrative not only demonizes Lilith, but frames her as a tragic figure, condemned for choosing autonomy over obedience. 5. The demonization of Lilith. By the Middle Ages, Lilith's image was fully demonic in Jewish folklore. She was blamed for infant mortality, with amulets created to ward her off. She was said to seduce men in their sleep, causing nocturnal emissions and birthing more demons. Lilith was associated with unclean spirits, lust, and madness, especially in women. Her transformation from first woman to night demon reflects a broader cultural tendency, punishing female independence. By turning her into a child-killing succubus, religious tradition ensured that her story served as a warning against rebellion. 6. Kabbalah and the Lilith mythos. In Kabbalistic mysticism, Lilith takes on even deeper cosmic significance. She becomes the bride of Samael, the dark angel sometimes equated with Satan. Together, they rule over the Qliphoth, the shadow side of the tree of life, representing impurity and chaos. She is associated with the left-hand path, mystical rebellion, and spiritual seduction. In this view, Lilith is not merely evil, but an essential counterforce, a necessary balance to divine order. She is the dark feminine, mysterious and uncontrolled, paralleling the sacred feminine represented by figures like Shekinah. 7. Lilith as archetype, the reclaimed feminine. In modern times, especially in feminist, psychoanalytic, and spiritual circles, Lilith has been reclaimed as a symbol of empowerment. Feminists see her as the first woman to claim bodily autonomy and reject patriarchy. Psychologists, particularly followers of Jungian thought, interpret Lilith as the dark anima, representing the repressed, instinctual side of the feminine psyche. Witches and neo-pagans often venerate her as a goddess of liberation, sexuality, and shadow work. Lilith's story resonates with women silenced, punished, or erased for speaking up, seeking knowledge, or asserting independence. 8. Lilith in popular culture. Lilith's myth continues to evolve in the modern era, making frequent appearances in books, films, music, and games. Television. Shows like Supernatural, True Blood, and Chilling Adventures of Sabrina portray Lilith as a powerful demon queen or primordial being. Literature. Lilith appears in works by Dante Gabriel Rossetti, George MacDonald, and Neil Gaiman Sandman, often embodying beauty, danger, and knowledge. Music and media. The Lilith Fair, a 1990s concert tour for female musicians, took her name as a banner of empowerment. Her image has shifted from demon to divine feminine, reflecting society's growing appreciation for complexity and depth in mythic characters. 9. Lilith versus Eve, dual archetypes. When we compare Lilith and Eve, we uncover two opposing models of femininity in religious tradition. Trait Lilith Eve. Created from earth, equal to Adam. Adam's rib, subordinate. Role independent, rebellious obedient, companion. Symbolism sexual power, knowledge, freedom nurturing, motherhood, submission. Punishment demonization, exile pain in childbirth, submission to man. Lilith's rebellion contrasts with Eve's compliance. But whereas Eve is blamed for the fall of man, Lilith is blamed for something deeper, the challenge to divine authority itself. This comparison shows how early traditions often punished assertive women and rewarded submissive ones, a pattern that has echoed through centuries of social and religious doctrine. Why Lilith still matters. Lilith is more than just a mythical demon or forgotten wife. She represents something powerful, primal, and unresolved in the human psyche. She is the forbidden voice of the feminine. She is the shadow side of creation, too dangerous to be acknowledged by patriarchal systems. She is the first to say no, and was banished for it. In reclaiming her story, we are not rewriting Scripture. We are remembering a truth deliberately buried. Lilith reminds us that creation was never just light, but also shadow. And in that shadow lives the power to question, to choose, and to break free. As modern seekers, we owe it to ourselves to look beyond the official narratives and ask deeper questions. Who benefits from Lilith's demonization? What truths about gender, power, and spirituality lie hidden in her myth? Whether viewed as ancient demon, archetypal symbol, or spiritual goddess, Lilith is alive, in our stories, in our struggles, and in our awakening. She is the voice that says, "I will not lie beneath him." And for many, that voice is no longer a curse. It is a call to freedom. Thanks for watching. If this dive into the 7 creatures banished before Adam blew your mind, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss our next deep truth. What do you think the church left out, and why? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Remember, history isn't always what we're told, and the hidden truths may reshape your beliefs forever. Want more forgotten lore and forbidden knowledge? Stay tuned. We're just getting started. Until next time, question everything, seek the unseen, and keep your eyes open, because the past is darker than we think.